Okay, I'm just setting up the live stream. Won't be long. Okay, let's go and check the volume levels. Make sure that you can hear me over the aircraft and the wind outside. This is the new version of OBS, by the way. They've changed the way things look quite a lot. Should be good. Okay, let's just go and check as well the output level. Yeah, I've got Flight Simulator turned right down. Let's go and fix that. Okay, so you can now hopefully hear me over the aircraft. Go and get inside. Yeah, then we get the requisite changes. Okay, good. So before we get going, shall I plug the Xbox controller in and we'll go and have a look around the airplane on the ground? Something we very rarely do. Bear with me for a second. So Jacob says hello, hello to you too. I'm just sorting wires out at this end. So yet another USB device has just been plugged in and it will come up asking me what I want to do with it. So I thought we might go and have a look around the new Fenix Airbus A321 or A321. I'm not sure how people combine the numbers to say it, but the quality of the rendering is getting ridiculous, isn't it? It is so good. So you can hear the blades rattling as they rotate within the engines. So if we come in, actually we'll wait until the cabin is open and we'll come back through in a moment. Let's go and have a look around the aeroplane first on the ground. It's mad, isn't it? Absolutely insane. I mean, just the level of detail in these things now. It's absolutely potty. Yeah, look, I told you they're windmilling in the breeze. Okay, so inside the cabin, we fly quickly down to the far end. This is impressive stuff, isn't it? Just even the things you wouldn't ever go looking at, they've taken a great deal of care and attention over. Even the zip ties on things. Anyway. If you've not seen one of the Fenix Airbuses before and you're wondering what all of the fuss is about, it's this level of detail. And it's not just the physical model, it's the avionics and the flight model as well. So basically all of the professional pilots on YouTube have been jumping all over this, saying, you know, this is just next level. It's mad, isn't it? Every screw, every bolt, every nut, every button. Every texture. It's just absolutely mad. It's impressive stuff, isn't it? Level of modelling. Just even the pattern look in the end of that knob is just ridiculous. Okay, enough messing around. Let's go and work through the checklist. So I've spent most of the evening updating the Fenix startup procedure, rewriting it essentially, with a lot more detail and correcting things where they were in a slightly wrong order. Or, you know, as I've gone forward, so I've started to bring the startup procedures more into the real world slowly. So rather than being kind of quick and dirty ways of getting airplanes running, they're actually adhering to the procedures. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go over to the tablet and we're going to go to the Fenix app and go to the panel states, and from here you can see you can default various different panel states. We're going to start with cold and dark, so we can activate that. It was already activated, so it won't question us any further on that. So then we'll come over to the overhead panel and we're going to go to and switch the batteries on. And then we do have external power available, so we'll choose it. So then we're going to go and put the strobes to auto. We're going to put the nav and logo lights to setting 1. And we're going to go and put the APU master switch to on. And then we're going to start the APU. We're going to go and turn the crew supply on. That's a good point actually. We've gone and turned the crew oxygen supply on, but I'm going to pull the plug on the Xbox controller. Is drifting. It's causing havoc with the views. Okay, so in the tablet we are going to go into the ground services and check the doors. Yeah, we're going to close the doors. Although saying that, yeah, let's open the door again. I haven't actually let anybody on yet, so I'll leave that open. We'll have to remember that, and I need to update the procedures to take that into account. That's a good one. I think I have got it later in the procedure actually, so we'll see. So, back overhead. We're going to go and put the emergency exit light to armed. And we're going to go and put the no smoking sign to auto. Why it isn't on auto by default, I don't know. Then overhead we're going to go and set the inertial reference system to align itself. So if we go to status and set setting 1, it's going to be 9 minutes. So that'll give us time to walk around and talk about things anyway. Okay. So we have a choice now. We can either program this flight manually or we're going to go via Simbrief. I'm going to go Simbrief because it will be a lot quicker and the route I've chosen is quite fiddly. But in the documentation I've written both down. So we're going to go Control 1. Sorry, Control 3 even. Oh, actually, can we do it from here before we go over there? Let's have a look. FMGC. Init. Yes, we can do an init request. So as long as we've got Simbrief wired up in the tablet already, then you can do an init request in here. So let's see what happens. It should come up with EGSS to Lowy. There we go. Notice it doesn't fill you in the flight number, the cost index, or the cruise flight level. So we'll go over to Simbrief and have a look at that. So VFA123 is our flight number. VFA123. Cost index today is going to be, where's my cost index? Cruise profile, there we go, 30. I'm much happier looking at the proper thing, you know, the proper operational flight plan. And the cruise flight level is going to be 37,000 feet. So flight level 370. Okay, we can clear the message out now. And we can go and do a wind request to go and get the wind data. That's done. And then we can go back over to flight plan, because obviously pulling the route in from Simbrief is not going to have given us the standard instrument departure. So we want runway 22 CLN2E. So we go and select departure, runway 22 CLN2E, and insert it, and we can get rid of that message from the wind data. So that's got the SID in now. So that should connect up. So let's go and put the arrival into Lowy in. So we want the... Now, we actually do get to choose this because no system gives you everything automatically. So we're coming in runway 08. So let's go and see what the options are. So what's the most... I guess ILS... What's the difference between Y and Z? There's hardly any difference between them, is there? So there's RNAV. So let's go with the Z option, yeah. So I should have looked at that then. Lowy 08, made 1B, and RNAV 08. So arrival. RNAV Z08 and made 1B. There it is. There isn't a transition. Insert. So let's just scroll through, make sure there's no discontinuities around. Told you it was a fiddly route, didn't I? There's lots of airways involved. Okay, it's looking good. Obviously we could do the step through on the display once it comes alive. Will it do it in plan mode before? Yeah, it'll do it obviously before. So we can scroll through and just see from the navigation database. So we're going to leave Stansted. Should we increase the range a bit to do this to 40 miles? And then let's go and skim through the route and just make sure there's no wildly wrong waypoints along the way. No, that's all looking fine, isn't it? Okay, so we'll put that back on arc mode, so when things do wake up, it will behave itself. So then we're going to go over to the Fenix app and we're going to cheat to get the performance data. So we're going to go to My Flights and we're going to go get the data from Simbrief. Oh, of course Simbrief is in real time and I've wound the clock back, so we're going to take no notice of that warning. So yeah, minus 523 minutes. If we then go to... I've written all this down and I'm not following my own instructions. This is classic of me, isn't it? So we can go Departure Performance app now. And we can say sync. We should be able to sync load sheet. Why is it not doing it? Interesting. Oh, I've done this out of order, haven't I? So Fenix, mass and balance. Yeah, I haven't done this part. And we want to load aircraft. and we'll do it instantly. So it's using the data I just got from Simbrief to load the aircraft. Yeah, I'm not reading my own instructions. This is half the problem. So now I've loaded the aircraft, look, it's automatically pulling the jet bridge away because all of the people are on board. So then if I go into the performance calculator now, I can sync the load sheet into the calculator, which gives me takeoff weight and the centre of gravity. Then I can sync the live data, I can calculate the data for departure, and I can send it directly to the MCDU, which saves us keying it in. Okay, so let's just go and have a check of that, just to be an abundance of caution, I think you would call it. So we'll go and look in the performance app. So it's put the numbers in, it's done the flaps, it's done the flex temps. What else might we need to go and look at? So let's go and have a look at the init page and go sideways. So yeah, it hasn't done this. That's interesting, isn't it? So why hasn't it got the 0 fuel weights? Unless I missed that in the tablet. So let's go and have another look in here. So that sent that data to the MCDU. What about just the mass and balance? Oh, I didn't do this one. Send to MCDU. So then if we go back over to the MCDU, we now have the data. Rah. Again, not following my own instructions. Okay, so after programming the flight on the MCP, we want to go and make sure this all is correct. So we're going to have managed heading mode. We're going to go straight out to, was it 38,000 we said? No, 37,000. East is odd, after all, when we're travelling east. So 37,000 feet. Calibrate the altimeters, I'll press B to shortcut doing that. Everything's on managed mode, that's good. We are in an Airbus after all. Okay, so back in the cockpit, we're going to go and... Ooh, this variant doesn't have a backup attitude indicator. Fascinating. So I need to update my procedures slightly. So Control 5 takes us back overhead, put the seatbelt sign to on. So they're over here somewhere. Seatbelts go to on. Press the external power because the APU is obviously up and running by now. And then go back over to the tablet. So Control 3 takes us over there. We want the Fenix app. We want ground services, and we want to remove the chocks and cones and the GPU away from the aeroplane. I'm going to set the beacon light to on now. All the fuel pumps can come on in readiness for starting the engines, but we're not going to start them just yet. And we're going to do the pushback, so I'm just going to press Shift P. We can do this in the aeroplane, so if I press Shift P again to stop the truck, I'll just show you that. So in the aeroplane you get pushback here, so we can say connect the tug please, and he'll say I wish they'd make their mind up. So he's going to drive back in. So we just wait for Mr. Tug Driver to have his little temper tantrum about us keep giving him different instructions. Oh, actually, so do we have to start this to make him do it? Okay, we do. Take the parking brake off. Wait for him to sort his life out. I wonder if it will judder when it gets into the right place, or if they've done it nice and smoothly. It did judder, yeah. So the trick now is obviously we can steer. So we can steer our aeroplane easily from the tablet. So I'm not going to start the engines while they're doing this because I'll just get confused and have a terrible accident, probably. Okay, so we'll tell him to stop. And disconnect the tug, please. We'll put the parking brake back on. And we're going to go and start the engines. So to do that, I'm going to actually use my physical controls because I've got the Thrustmaster quadrant here. So I'm going to turn the ignition switch to start. You just saw that happen down there. And we're going to start engine number 2, but we have to put APU bleed on, which I've done out of sequence, so I'll get rakes over the coals for that one, no doubt. But it is going to wake up now, hopefully. Let's do that again. Just shows you, doesn't it? Do things out of sequence and it will bite you. So, APU on. Ignition on. Start. And you should see, where's the ECAM buttons? We want the engines, don't we? I was doing it here, sorry. N2, I was expecting N2 down here. I've been flying too many different aeroplanes recently. So it's all fully automated on the Airbus, it will do it all itself. You can see the nav system is aligned now as well. We'll go and reduce the range on that for takeoff. So when the grey box goes out, it's finished. There we go. So then we can go and do engine number 1. So it gets a grey box while it's operational on the ignition system. Just sit and wait for it. Should we go and have a look outside? See the heat pouring out of the back of engine number 2, sorry. Okay, let's go and sort out predicted wind shear. I need to check if that's on the list actually. I'm not sure that I have got it on the list. So as soon as we start taxiing, we can go and put the TCAST on. And flaps to takeoff position. So that needs to agree actually with the calculator. So what did the calculator say? I didn't take note of that. Let's go and have a look. Departure performance, flaps 2, yeah. It keeps stuttering really badly as soon as Stansted comes into view. I think they need a bit of optimization on their scenery somehow. So there's a company message. I guess that's in here now, is it? Or do we do it in here? Let's go and have a look. MCDU menu, ATSU, AOC. Received messages. There we go. Oh, it's just a load sheet to confirm it. So accept it. And then we got APU bleed. Oh, there's 3 messages. Let me go through them. Perhaps it won't. So let's accept that. And accept that. It's still saying company message. That's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, APU bleed is still on at the moment. So let's go overhead and turn off the APU bleed. Turn the ignition system off as well. Turn the taxi lights to on, which are here. Turn the parking brake off, and you will notice we will start to creep forwards very, very slowly. Well, it depends on the incline, actually. But yeah, we are starting to creep, look. So it's worth knowing about that an accurate Airbus will creep. So anyway, we're going to go and taxi out to the runway. So obviously the aircraft knows we're taxiing and it's asking us to go and configure things. So we go and... I don't know if that's on the checklist either. Right, pre-arming the spoilers. The ground spoilers. Yeah, I've got a few things to correct on the checklist. So the APU can come off now, so we can go and turn off the master switch on the APU. We're not using it anymore. We already did TCAS earlier. Flaps are already done. So we're just taxiing out to the runway at the moment. And then we'll sort everything out in a moment. So... show it from outside. It is a great looking aeroplane, isn't it? So I've got a fair bit of work to tidy up the checklist, I think. There's a few things I've missed. It's only when you actually do these things you realise, and then you go from, obviously you go from your first draft to a final draft. So while we're taxiing, we can keep an eye out of the messages. So we've done the spoilers, we've done the flaps. Takeoff config test essentially means blipping the throttle. Okay, so you get to experience the noise. I'm going to turn the volume level up for the airplane because it's great. Okay, let's go Toga. Autopilot on, throttles to climb to 10. And we're off. Let's have a look. just took off. I just did all of that and we took off without the landing lights on. I am getting so good at this, aren't I? And we didn't put the strobes were on auto, so the Airbus took care of that. But yeah, after all of that and checking things, I didn't go and set the landing lights. It's because I'm trying to do too many things at once. I'm kind of proofreading the checklist, scribbling down notes, and trying to talk to you and fly the aeroplane. I'm not doing great at it. So transition altitude is 6,000 feet, so we don't need to do anything with the barometric pressure just yet. You can see the aircraft is on managed mode on the climb out, so on the altitude over there, sorry. So it will be following the flight plan. So it'll be going up to 4,000 feet slowly. There it is, it's at 4,000 at the moment. So we're towards SE11, it's just changed look. So we got a speed of 229 knots, which is just moving, it's going out towards 250 right now. So it's going ready for SSE 18. That's interesting that it's kind of disregarded that one. So Paul is saying, are the TCA side stick sensitivity settings the same as the A320? Which A320? The Fenix. I had to play around with it earlier. I very quickly took off with the A318 actually and threw it around to see how it behaved, and it reminded me immediately that in the Airbus you're not controlling the aeroplane, you're directing it. But it didn't seem overly sensitive, if that's what you're getting at. It actually seemed quite soft on the controls, because you're directing the aeroplane, you're not controlling it directly. So Peter says we're on approach. No, we're not, sorry. We've just departed Stansted and we're flying a standard instrument departure. And I can show you on the chart where we are. If I go and pull up the Clacton 2E standard instrument departure, we're just leaving. So there's a managed climb out towards Clacton from Stansted, and then we'll be on our way to Innsbruck. So at the moment the aeroplane's just cruising along over the English countryside on the standard instrument departure. Yeah, the A321 is quite a lot longer than the A320. You can see it's starting to climb. So the next phase takes us up to 5,000 feet. So obviously you heard the throttles kick in there to hold 250 knots. It was quite interesting. I watched a little bit of A330 driver's live stream in between work this afternoon, because he was putting the airplane through its paces, and obviously he's just been through Airbus, or not just, but in the recent past he's been through Airbus flight school and done all the book learning, so he knows a lot of the logic and the laws properly that go on inside the Airbus, and he knows Boeing from his past as well, so it was really fascinating to listen to his insights, because I've talked about this recently. I think every subject to do with the aeroplane ends up being a rabbit hole for me, and I end up jumping down it to learn more. And he kind of showed that today with, just looking at simple things like lights going on and off and what it actually means, or boxes around indicators. You know, on the annunciators above the autopilot, things like that. So over here, what the boxes mean. It was fascinating. And the colours of the boxes. Everything has meaning. So if you haven't got the Fenix Airbus, I'm just reading the live stream comments there. So Slamak is saying, is it exactly the same cockpit as the A320? Are there any differences? Yes, there are differences. So the A320, it depends on which one you've selected. I'm not sure if you can configure this, but this doesn't have a backup attitude indicator, for example, and I'm doing this along with you. This is my first sight of it properly. So I haven't really looked to see how different it is, but there are slight differences here and there. Now I don't know if that's down to the model, or sorry, the livery and the configuration that carrier has, but certainly the stock Fenix A320, or sorry, A318 has a backup attitude indicator because I saw it earlier. Obviously, in terms of the avionics suite, it's probably going to be very, very similar between them. Obviously, the A321 though, being that much longer and heavier, you have to be careful on rotation, you have to be careful on your alpha on landing. The A318 is like a little sports car, or A319, sorry, is like a little sports car. You know, it's got tons of thrust, so it can operate in much shorter airfields, and it's much lighter for the same wing design. So we're at 6,000 feet, so we can go to standard barometric pressure now. Does it synchronise that? No, it doesn't. That's good to know. I wonder if that can be configured. So if we go and look in here and go to settings. Ooh, what do sim settings do? Okay, this is what we were on about then. So airframe. Modifiable. TCAS. Auto switching. Nav and go around. EFB mount. There's lots of things you can fiddle with then. So in the cabin, you've got the cabin lights, controls, whether you've got different call-outs, the units you want to use around the cabin, GSX configuration, so it works nicely with it, and cabin announcements. So yeah, there's a lot you can fiddle with then. So you can, yeah, okay, so you can have airline settings as well, so different liveries can be configured appropriately. That's good. Anyway, I need to keep an eye on this because we're going to go up to 10,000 feet shortly. Yeah, we're climbing now out towards 10,000 feet for... Let's go and increase the range on this now. So we're probably going to come through at about Nonva, thereabouts. So yeah, Peter was asking how much it costs. If you've already got the A320, the upgrade to get the A319 and A321 isn't very expensive, considering what you're getting. If we go to look for, what's the name again? FenixSim.com. So if you've already got the A320, you can get the expansion to get the 319 and the 321 for £40. So that's £20 per plane. And considering it's essentially study level, kind of, you know, the professional pilots are saying it's great. Or you can get all three as a bundle for £80. It's interesting. This is interesting, look. Officially licensed by Airbus. There will be an update then for sharklet wingtips as well in the future. That's worth knowing about as well. Yeah, so Peter, because you've already got the A320, you'll get the others at a discount. So just come through 10,000 feet, so the landing lights can come off. Whoops. Retract, off, retract. Did that take the beacon light off by accident? It did, didn't it? Yeah. Ground spoilers are still armed, they don't need to be anymore. So yeah, I've got a lot of little bits and pieces to tidy up on the checklists then. It's still saying company message, but I thought I'd read them. So let's go and have a look at that. So if I go to MCDU, ATSU, AOC, receive messages. Perhaps he just wants me to see that one as well. Yeah. So Jason says there's not much difference other than the weight and performance. Yeah, essentially, they are stretch versions. It's a bit like the MDG with the different versions of the 737, isn't it? They're just covering off the other ones in the family. I've got a funny story about the A321. I used to work a lot in Germany a few years ago, and quite often I'd fly out of Heathrow to Frankfurt and back again. Almost, most weeks. And flew a lot on the A321, and on the Lufthansa A321s at the time, the back few seats in economy were taped off. Nobody could sit in them. And I got to wondering why. And I went and read up on the news story, and it turns out somebody counting pennies at Lufthansa thought it might be a good idea to squeeze the economy seats together a bit closer and fit an extra couple of rows in. Unfortunately, that apparently tipped the balance of the aircraft, and they had a plane sit on its tail while it was sat at the gate. Obviously, I guess they weren't managing the passengers getting on very well, but it meant it was dangerously tail heavy. To the point that if you just happened to let a few too many people in that end too quickly, yeah, so they had a couple of incidents apparently of aircraft sitting on their tail because they put too many rows of seats in economy, which of course economy is to the back of the airplane. I thought it was a fascinating one. And not something you typically imagine, you would expect to have happened. I will say, having the A319, it's useful for the smaller airports where the even the A320 might struggle. I think in the real world it comes down to numbers of passengers or amount of freight. It's quite a complicated decision. So seatbelts are still on. They can stay on until we get to cruise. Let's go and leave this on the plan page. So while we're flying, I'm going to go update the checklist with some of the things that I know when they were missing. If I press Control 6, thereabouts is predictive wind shears, bottom left. It's difficult to see there actually. Does that panel have a name? No. But it's the PWS switch. back up here for the moment for you so you can see where you're going. I'm busy writing a document alongside the computer. Again, just to make sure, so it has to go to the right, okay. Anybody that's seen one of my PDFs will understand exactly what I'm doing here. I'll show you it on the screen in a moment, if you've not seen one of them. So once we get on the runway, I also didn't set the ground spoilers. I'm going to turn off the seatbelt sign now and let the passengers go for a wander around. Something else that's accurate in the Fenix Airbuses, if you've not seen it, is it's got the binnacle compass, which I think is just great. So they've all got the panels drawn in on all the other different versions of it, but only the Fenix allows you to do this. So if you've not seen that before, that's where the binnacle compass is on the Airbus. Obviously you can push it back up into the roof. I wonder if there are any other Easter eggs around the place. Should we go and have a nosy around? So there's the oxygen masks. I don't think we can interact with them. Can we do anything with any of these other little panels around the place? Oh, we can apparently... Oh, that just puts the tablet on and off, okay. Are there any panels on the floor that we can lift up or anything like that? Sometimes you find these things have been implemented. I think the seat works, doesn't it? Yeah. I can't remember how you extend it. Oh, there we go. There's going to be another click spot on it somewhere, isn't there, to pull this bit out. It's being a sensor, isn't it? So some of these are clickable then. I might be clicking things in the cockpit through the wall. It's a bit dangerous to try things like that. Is there anything modelled inside them there? There's nothing modelled inside the toilet. So something Emmanuel noticed, A330 driver, is the dirt on the windows, but it may have been on the particular livery that he was looking at. I don't think it's got dirt on the windows on this version. Oh, it has, look, you can just see it, stains. It's got stain patterns on the glass, and almost all of the glass panels are different. Yeah, this side's a bit cleaner, but you can still just see it, look. The water spotting and stains. Just the quality of the rendering of everything is just stunning though, isn't it? Let's see if we can figure this out. Let me pull this seat out. So apparently you can move these seats as well. I'm not sure where the switches are to do it. I'm not going to fiddle with the flight instruments. Interesting. So that's the emergency gear. Very cool. I like that. So, if we were to sit in the seat and squeeze ourselves over, do we go with the seat? No. Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? I just had visions of ourselves going slowly up in the world. That's very cool. Okay, so let's go and have a look at the flight plan. 424 miles to go. Shouldn't take too long. We are going through 31,500 feet. 280 knots indicated, or just over. And all is good on board. Alright, I was going to show you the procedures, wasn't I? So if I go into Google Drive and I type in A321, it will follow or find my A321 startup procedure, and you will see what these look like. So it goes through everything you need to do to get the airplane ready. So programming a flight manually, so all of the steps through all of the pages, programming it with Simbrief, so although I didn't follow it very accurately when I did it earlier, going by the tablet, and then after programming the flight, go to the MCP to configure that, go to the cockpit to, again, this needs to say only if it's fitted. Actually, that's the wrong place to say that, isn't it? It needs to say it here. And maybe have that in italics. And it just goes through everything you need to do, things you need to remember along the way. And it's got the keyboard shortcuts for the different views if you do need to go to a particular part of the cockpit to do something. And beyond that, whereabouts in that default view you'll find something. So that's what my checklists look like. So I started writing those checklists purely for my own use originally. And then my other half turned round one day and said, well, what about if you charged for them? And I said I didn't think anybody would buy them. And by then thousands of people already had them because I gave them away. But then she convinced me to charge, you know, the price of, well, not even the cost of a cup of coffee, but just a nominal fee for them. And I've been surprised that people seem to find good value in grabbing them. So what can we do with failures? Let's have a look. Air conditioning failure. Oh my word, so we can do all manner of things to the aeroplane. Auto flight, so we can make the various units in the aircraft pack up. Electrical power failures. Fire protection failures. It's awesome, isn't it? Look at all the stuff you can do. So if we go into pilot brief, do we just see the operational flight plan? So there's the OFP, that's the whole thing. I'm guessing this is just pulling this out of the OFP. Oh, we have a user guide built in. Now that's nice. I didn't realise this was here. But it isn't, obviously it's not an A320 guide, it's a guide to the Fenix Airbus, if that makes sense. Whoops, QRH. Where do we go page down? We just drag it. Quick reference handbook. Oh, it's a shame we can't search it, can we? Because without tabs and searching, this becomes pretty useless. If this is a PDF that's on the file system, that would be useful. Should we go and have a look at the file system? So if we go to community and the 319321. Okay, so they don't put them in there. Do they put them in documents maybe? So where's the Fenix folder? Yeah, I'll have to find it another time, I think. Oh well. Oh, sorry, I turned the simulator up on the runway. Completely forgot I did that. So I wanted everybody to hear the engines and the rumble on the way along the runway. Yeah, it's a shame you can't search this, look. Unless there's a... No, you can't right-click on it either. So unless I can find that on the file system, it's a bit of a shame, really. So when it installed it, did it put it into D drive, maybe? Games, Fenix Sim A320. Docs, is it in here? That's the A320 user guide. What's happening? The aircraft just deployed flaps. That's a USB problem on my machine. It just threw out an enormous amount of flap and oversped the flaps. We've got a company message has come in. Let's go and have a look. I'm trying to remember what to do. Katsu, it looks like a K, doesn't it? Atsu, AOC, received messages, VFA ops, no ADC required, ADC delay. Which begs the question, what does ADC mean? I don't know about any of you, but Google Gemini has become my best friend when finding things out. What is ADC in terms of the Airbus family of aircraft? Question mark. ADC stands for Air Data Computer. In the context of the Airbus, the functionality of the ADC is integrated. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. So Adiru. So I'm guessing when that glitch happened with the controllers, did it kill the inertial reference system as well? Maybe it did. So I'm not sure what the root cause of it all is with these control blips I get, because lots of people get them. It's either endemic to the Thrustmaster Airbus quadrants, or powered USB hubs, or particular motherboards, or it's a bug. And I've never got to the bottom of it, but not everybody has it happen. But lots of people do. Chattanooga's coming out with every acronym he can think up. I'm sure if you go and ask an AI bot like Google or somebody else, they'll come out with thousands of things that ADC could stand for. Shall we ask, what are some funny alternative... He's done it again. VMO is out. So we are overspeeding, the wind has changed, and we are overspeeding, and the aircraft is not slowing down sufficiently quickly. So that's a flight sim issue. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Sometimes Flight Simulator can try to kill you when the wind changes suddenly. It doesn't give the aeroplane a chance to respond. And we're climbing like crazy. Why are we climbing? I didn't set that vertical speed. Oh, hang on, what's this? Have we got an aircraft appearing? It's climbing to avoid somebody, isn't it? Or is it? No, it's just gone into an uncontrolled climb and it won't stop it. So if I say 35,000 feet, it's trying to tell me it wants to climb to get there? How strange is that? So let's do a selected mode and tell it to come down at 1500 feet a minute to come back down. Is it going to obey it? No, it isn't. We've got a problem, Houston. Oh, the autopilot's kicked off, that's why. And that's why it wouldn't go to managed mode. And the auto throttle is kicked off as well. Oh my word, so that control blip we had earlier absolutely hosed the aeroplane. We're now only now beginning to realise what it did. That's annoying. So let's go. We were at 37, weren't we? Let's go managed mode to get back to 37. Not managed mode, selected mode, I mean. Yeah, it took me a moment to realise that it had all completely powered off. I guess what happened, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It wasn't the control blip. Flight Sim did its usual trick where it threw in airspeed, it threw a wind change that gave us an overspeed. I think the Airbus tried to climb to correct it, and in the middle of climbing, the continued overspeed caused the autopilot to shut off, which meant it kept climbing. Because I didn't realise straight away that the autopilot had disengaged, but the overspeed would have caused that. So if we go back to managed mode, will it let us go back to managed mode? How strange. I guess because we're already at 37,000 feet, it won't do managed, because it doesn't have to do anything to get there. Yeah, that makes sense as well. It's always interesting, isn't it? When something strange happens, you learn a lot really quickly about what's actually going on. Because we were in cruise altitude mode. Regardless of the dots, you know, whether you're in what mode it says you're in. Obviously, if we were to descend, then you could enter a managed descent. But when it's just holding altitude, the dot won't be there anyway. So about 240 miles out. En route to Lursa, which is the next waypoint. That was interesting. I wonder if there's anything else that's switched off while we were doing that. Let's go and have a look around. Just looking at switches around the place. That's still good, that's good, that's good. That was down. That's good. Those are good. It comes to something, doesn't it, when you have to go and check switches because you're not sure if you can trust what's just happened. That all looks good. So yeah, I think that was all down to a weather change. Caused all of that. It wasn't a control blip. The weather suddenly changed, probably gave us a headwind or something. I've seen it before in Flight Simulator. You know, where suddenly the wind can turn round, you get an overspeed and it will kick off the autopilot, and I just didn't notice I didn't notice quickly enough what the true cause of it was. It reminds you of what was the movie called about the crew that landed on the Hudson? And when they ran the simulations, they had to force them to put the kind of 30 to 60 second gap in of them diagnosing and trying to figure out what was happening. Yeah, sometimes it can take a little while for the penny to drop of what's going on. Sully, that's the name of the movie, yes. It is amazing though how quickly your brain starts to work in a real world situation. It never does with a simulator, obviously, not to the same extent because the adrenaline isn't there. The body can essentially run itself at, it can overclock itself when it needs to. Now why are we getting standard and the number coming up? Why would standard have a box around it? Ah, is it because it's we didn't calibrate the backup attitude indicator, or that will be why, won't it? That should be 1013. No, it's not that then. Does it have to be in standard mode? Apparently not. Let's try this on Google Gemini then. In the A321, let's see how much it knows, because if it's had sight of the book it will know. In the A321, I better put Airbus in front of that and be very specific. In the Airbus A321, why might the STD message on the primary flight display have a green box drawn around it? Okay, so autopilot mode. Some autopilot modes might display a green box around STD to indicate that the flight management system is using a standard atmospheric model for calculations. It can also be an indication of the data source. The green box can be a visual cue indicating the source of the air data information used to calculate STD. For example, it might show that data is coming from a specific ADIRU or air data sensor. It could also mean there's a system anomaly or discrepancy. In such cases, it's crucial to refer to the aircraft's documentation and follow established procedures. Now, I'm just wondering why they've got boxes around them and why it is measuring it in meters. Because we didn't change anything. It was following the wind change and the alarms that it suddenly came on. Interesting. I wonder if there's anything that might trigger it. Should we have a look and see what the cockpit lighting is like? I'm going to turn the dome lighting on before I do it. So if you remember when we started the flight, we got a complaint from Simbrief about the time of day. So dome is over there. I'll put it on bright. And we'll put the time to real time so we can have a play with the lights. Let's put the dome lighting down a bit then. It's cool, doesn't it? So we got brightness of the camera screens. You've got the brightness of the primary displays, so we can tone them down a bit at night. Don't want them quite that bright. Same on the other side. So then I guess you could turn the... So you've got the integrated lighting brightness, so that's the background of the switches. Looks amazing, doesn't it? So there's the panel. That's the flood lighting for the panel, and that's the integrated lighting. So that one only does that panel. Interesting. I was just searching for these knobs under here to see which one does which. So we can't actually see, it's too dark to see the knobs. That's the funny thing. Let's go and put the dome lighting back on. So somebody's asking in the live stream comments, do you need the Fenix A320 to get the A321? Yes, you do. But you can buy all three together as a pack now. So there's our top of descent over there, about 100 miles from it. Is that still doing this? I have no idea why it's showing meters below us, because it doesn't normally. And it only started doing it after the overspeed warning earlier. Very odd. Can we turn the brightness down on this? It's a bit violent, isn't it? There we go. That one's a bit bright as well. So someone's saying it might be this button here. It is. Okay, we're going to go on a deep dive then and find out what that is. So metric, okay, it just shows you metric altitude. So we must have pressed that by accident in the middle of the panic when we were trying to figure out what was going on with the altitudes. Great shout, thank you. What's the old saying? All of us are cleverer than any one of us, or something like that. The scenery's amazing, isn't it? So we'll fly in real time because it looks pretty. Look at the smoke belching out the back of it. Fuel prediction. Fuel on block 2.8. Yeah, we'll be fine. We're going by the numbers of what was called in from Simbrief, which apparently it doesn't match perfectly with the sim, but we'll soon find out, won't we? Remember, once we start descending, we'll save a ton of fuel. It doesn't help that we've had a headwind most of the way. Should we have a look on the maps and see what the wind barbs are doing? So we're now way down here somewhere. There we are. So we're approaching Innsbruck. We're not far away. If we go and look on LittleNavMap, that will give us a geographical view of things. So there's the mountains. We need to put the airplane on there, don't we? There we go. So just coming over southwestern Germany. Going to fly over Stuttgart very soon. Probably see it on the land in front of us. On the ground, sorry. Yeah, that'll be Stuttgart out there, underneath the clouds. What can we do in terms of Navigraph then? Is it just charts, or can we have a map as well? Should we find out? I'm just going to go and approve it on my phone. We get a map. Very good. So we get a combination then of a map and charts. So presumably that will center on the airplane and move with it. It's nice to have. Okay, so we can see on the map the descent marker is coming. Oh, sorry, decelerate. So top of descent is coming up around Utaba. Let's have a look at that on LittleNavMap. So we're in an A321 obviously, so I haven't got the aircraft performance for it, but we'll pull up the A320 for the Fenix, which isn't going to be a million miles away. We want Airbus, don't we? There we go. So if we go and show it, we were flying at 37,000, weren't we? Yeah. So it's saying, yeah, it's the same place, look, almost. In between Utaba and Batub. There's Stuttgart then. I presume it is. Let's go and have another look at the map. Yeah. It's interesting, I've not been in any of the Airbuses properly for a long time in the sim, so it's been an interesting refresher this evening. So they're saying put in our destination data, which is absolutely expected. So we'll clear that message and go sideways. And performance, there we go, next page. Descent. And destination, so it wants the QNH and the temp. I wonder if we can cheat with that and use the... Has this got the arrival performance? Can we copy that into the MCDU? So Lowy 08, that's correct. Refresh the meta, apply the meta. So it won't copy any of that in for us, but we can at least get the QNH. So we've got 1018 at the destination. So 1018. And the temperature is 17 degrees. It's lovely and warm then in Innsbruck. It should be good to go with the rest of it. Very good. So we can see the end of the route there now. Chattanooga says, Mr. Beckett, where did you get all of those aircraft performance files? FlightSim.2 is your friend, but, I know this is a big but, a lot of them are garbage. You're better off, if you want to get an accurate performance file, fly a route you know well. Before you fly the route, and fly it in an aeroplane you know well. Before the route, restart aircraft performance collection. And do a new aircraft performance and just leave it all empty. Then when you get to the end of your flight, merge the aircraft performance data and it will automatically populate the aeroplane in the way that you have flown it. So it does mean you have to really concentrate, almost like a test pilot, on flying the aeroplane by the book. So with the Airbus it's not difficult because you just leave it on managed mode all the way, but then it will give you accurate information. So you can make performance files in LittleNavMap very, very easily. You don't have to look the numbers up. You just get it to record it during a flight and then merge it. But the important thing is you reset it before you do the flight, so it's not polluted with other aeroplanes. We've got below 3 tons of fuel left. Thankfully we're going to be going downhill in a moment, so we'll be on idle most of the way. So let's go and reduce the range on the display. So Paul's saying I could turn on constraints to help, so that's the button up here. But it's going to be a managed descent anyway, so I don't think it'll show them, will it? And yeah, there's obviously no constraints to show at the moment. There is just out of view over here, look. So when we get a bit lower, it will become obvious. I was checking around to see. I'm still a bit paranoid by what happened earlier. Or a bit paranoid about that, I should say. This is one of the penalties of test flying aeroplanes in full public view. And finding things as I go. This is very cool, isn't it? I've never really looked at this properly. That's awesome. Yeah, so Chattanooga, that's a perfect example, something that like the LittleNavMap or the any of those more rare aircraft, you can just, if you go and fly a flight and try to fly the aeroplane on, you know, by the book numbers in a sensible manner. Right, we're getting near the top of descent, so let's see what happens if we go and select an altitude. So it's 8,000 feet, isn't it? I think. So I'm going to say go and see what happens. So it's going to do it immediately. That's interesting. It's not going to wait for top of descent to do it. So let's go and check some of those numbers. So we're coming in. We are just coming through Utah. Oh, so no, that's the restriction of the airway. That's fine. So then we want to be at. Let's go and look at the chart. It's easier, isn't it, just to look at the chart rather than look at anything else. So above 13,000 at Madib. So that's what we really should be targeting on the VNAV. So no lower than 13,000. Whoops. And let's push that forwards again to reset the brain of the computer. And those constraints are getting in the way at the moment, so I'll just turn them off for the moment. When we get a bit closer, we'll zoom in and see them. So there's Madeb. So 60 miles to make it down to 13,000 feet. I don't think you get a green banana. You get a dot, don't you? There it is on the Airbus. You get the profile. So we started descending early. Here it comes though, look. So will it follow the dot if it's in managed mode? It was just coming down very gently at the moment. So watch for this to start descending more steeply. There it goes, look. Now it's going to follow the descent profile. So although we commanded it early, it kind of lazily came down. It'd be interesting to go and look in the book to see what, I bet it's like 500 feet a minute or something if you command it early. It'll be in the book. So once we get past Madeb, so it's above 13,000 at LMM as well. So above 13,000 across to Rattenberg. But then from LMM though, we're cutting off then and going through this approach. And it's pretty much a straight line then. We'll see what the Airbus makes of it. Obviously we go manual as soon as we see the airfield. It's fairly clear. It's going to be fun, isn't it? So we're just rolling in now, look, at the far end of this diagram. We are slightly below the profile, which is interesting. I wonder if I need to help it with spoilers. No, it's back on profile. You'd expect to be above the profile if it couldn't make it, wouldn't you? So yeah, look, N1 or N2 is down to almost idle. So we're back on profile. I bet the wind just changed slightly then and caused the profile to move. So Paul's saying press prog on the MCDU. Yep, you're absolutely right. It will show us. It shows you the deviation amount, but you can see it visually here, which is usually enough, isn't it? It's good to see the data as well though. It's pretty accurate, isn't it? So, does this have the constraints as well? So, yeah, we're still coming down to 13,000 LMM though, aren't we? Or by LMM, I should say. And the plane knows that. Please go a bit further on. So after LMM, we wait for WI749. And then we descend. So that's over here. Let's zoom in again now then. So we wait for WI749 and then we start descending for the runway. So let's go and have a quick look as well. So Lowy, information, open the airport. Elevation's 1900 feet. And yeah, barometric pressure was 1018. So this is the scary thing now. We're in the dark and there's mountains everywhere. Obviously this route takes us through them, so you can see that here. So I wonder if terrain mode works. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. It works, and it works really nicely. That's going to be lighting up like a Christmas tree in a few minutes. Very cool. Can we combine weather and radar? And terrain, I mean, sorry. So if we go and put the... We'll put on system number 1. Auto. I'm not sure how you get it to show weather as well, but there's only a few dots of cloud around. So this is going to get unintentionally exciting. What's the barometric, sorry, the transition level around here? Does it say by ATC? What about on the airfield itself? There's the transition level for Innsbruck. Great, it's not going to tell us. Thanks a lot. Normally you'd get it on the ILS chart, wouldn't you? We have another way we can find out, which is to go and ask... Actually, will it show us on the info here? Yes, 10,000 feet. So we don't have to worry about that just yet. So it's probably best not to look outside because it just gets scary. We're going to have a look. How's the fuel going? We've got a ton, just over a ton in each wing. We're turning in, we're down to 16,000 feet. So I think we'll be fine on fuel. If you put the head tracking on, it will make it a bit more immersive, won't it? Or scary. So the airfield's down there, isn't it? In the valley, I think. Or have I got that wrong? Is it further? Is it over there? Yes, it's directly in front of us, so it's over there where you can see the light. That's going to be Innsbruck down the end of that valley. We've got to do this snaking route to get through. Yeah, that makes sense. Look, you can see the valley out there. And we'll be descending into it and following the line of the valley. So you can start to see those hills on the plot. So at WI 749 we start descending for the next target. which is essentially the ground. So I go for if I go for 2,500 feet, that gives us some leeway, doesn't it? So we're almost there. So let's carry this on down now. I'm going to turn off head tracking to do this. If I say 3,000 feet and push that towards the aeroplane, and once it comes through WI 749, it will probably increase the descent rate. Weather 1018. They're not scary. Should we put the tablet away? Okay, here we go, look, it's starting the descent as we predicted. So coming down into this valley. Should we turn the dome light off? So I'm going to put the first stage of flaps out, which will help the aeroplane. We're slow enough to do it. So coming down towards 10,000 feet slowly, at which point we have both got the landing lights will come on, but also we switch away from standard barometric pressure to the destination airfield. So we've got a few moments before we do that. Let's go and have a look. Whoa, look at that. Right, enough messing around. Let's go and do the lights first, because it's not going to hurt anything. Got those on ready for when the wheels come down. So we come through 10,000 feet, so push and 1018. And the other side as well, wasn't it? Yeah, it's not synchronized, look. Not that it really matters without a real co-pilot sitting there, but you get the idea. Okay, I better get my controls ready. So Lowy is just around the corner. So has this got any more decelerations planned. No, it hasn't, strangely. It's gone. Well, it's going to drop to 165 at 754, which is just before the runway. I'm inclined to take over. Oh no, we'll let it go. We can always do a go around if it messes up. We can go manual very quickly. So still following the route. So it's going to keep going down to 3,000 feet all on its own. We should get visuals on the airfield fairly soon. It's going to be just around this corner, isn't it? So there's going to be a deceleration fairly soon. Another 5 miles. In fact, it's already decelerating, so let's help it with some more flaps. Here comes the airfield. Yay, we can see the runway. So I am inclined to go manual from here. Yeah, I know. I just did that myself. So this is me now. Give the wings a wiggle. Should we go manual on the throttle as well?
Terrain ahead. Pull up. Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Okay, so we're on full flaps.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
This is the problem, is the A321, I've gone full spoilers, full flaps, and it's not slowing down. Yeah, shut up. Oh, it wants the gear down. That's what it wants. That will give me some drag, won't it?
Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
There we go, we have gear down now. That will help enormously. A little bit high.
300.
Yeah, we're way high.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, retard. 5.
That's interesting. Look at it float.
5.
Thankfully, the reversers are extremely strong. That floated like crazy along the runway though, didn't it? can't click on the switch. There we go. I was quite surprised. It had a lot of lift in those last few seconds, and it didn't want to go down onto the runway, so it's going to take a little bit of practice, I think, to get the hang of that. Parking brake on, so we could either let's try this. So I'm just going to turn the head tracking off, so we're going to turn the taxi light off. The beacon light can come on. Oh no, the beacon light stays on, sorry, the engine's on. Strobes are on auto. We want the tablet back, don't we? So in the Fenix app there's ground services, so we'll go and put the cones out and we'll connect the GPU, and we should therefore be able to automatically bus transfer over to it just by killing the engines. So let's pull the switches on the engines. That's unexpected. I thought it would have kicked over on its own because that wasn't lit up, was it? Oh well. It survived it. It's just me trying things out. Oh, we have a engine fire warning lit up. Interesting, especially as there's no engine on anymore. Let's go and turn some of those lights off, shall we? So we should be able to just turn things off and go dark. And then I guess the trouble is we can't actually see anything now. Let's go and turn the light back. It's always fun, isn't it, to play with new aeroplanes and see how they behave. So yeah, the major thing we learned there, I guess, was its behaviour on finals. Was it suddenly had a lot of lift once it got into ground effect, and it started to drift high on full flaps. Once the flaps had extended fully, it had a lot of lift. So David's asking, how do you get rid of the annoying pop-ups when you hover over switches? Press the escape key, go to General Options, go to Accessibility, and it's called Instrument Name Tooltips, and rotate it. There's several settings, but you want it to be off. Then you won't get the tooltips when you're moving the mouse around. Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. So that was our first go in the Fenix, and first go in an Airbus for me in a very long time. So it was, yeah, it was interesting. I need to go and update the checklist for the Airbuses and get that updated on Ko-fi.com. So I'll see you all again soon. Take care.